The Delhi Sultanate. India did not face any major invasion for more than 150 years after the raids of Mahmud Ghazni. It was by the mid-12th century that a ruler of Ghor, a small principality in Afghanistan, Mahmud Ghori, attacked and captured parts of Punjab and Sindh. In 1191 AD, he clashed with Prithviraj Chauhan in the first battle of Tarain, but faced defeat.
The very next year, he again attacked and defeated Prithviraj Chauhan in the second battle of Tarain in 1192 AD.
This resulted in the Turkish rule over India.
These Turkish ruled from Delhi from 1206 AD to 1526 AD.
The Slave Dynasty, 1206 to 1290 AD. The rule of Slave Dynasty begins with the accession of Qutbuddin Aibak and continued till Balban. In between them, Iltutmish, Rukhuddin, Razia and Nasruddin Mahmud ruled in different periods of time. All these rulers were called Mamluks in Arabic, which means a slave or the sons of slave.
All the rulers who ruled the Delhi Sultanate from 1206 to 1286, from Qutbuddin Aibak to Balban, together formed the slave dynasty. Qutbuddin Aibak, Lakh Baksh, 1206 to 1210 AD. After the second battle of Tarain, Muhammad Ghori returned to Ghor in Afghanistan, leaving the affairs of India in the hands of his trusted slave Qutbuddin Aibak. So after the death of Muhammad Ghori in 1206, Aibak took over the control of the Delhi Sultanate.
He cut off links with Ghor and started the process of developing India on its own independent lines. Iltutmish, 1210 to 1236 AD. In 1210, Aibak died of injuries due to a fall from his horse while playing polo. Aibak was succeeded by his son-in-law Iltutmish. Thus, the principle of heredity of son succeeding his father was checked at the outset. It was Iltutmish who is regarded as the real consolidator of the Turkish rule in India. He managed to crush his rivals, both the Turks and the rebellious Rajputs. He also showed his wisdom when he refused to give shelter to Jalaluddin, the Khwarizmi ruler who was escaping from the invasion of Chengiz Khan, the Mongol invader. Thus, he saved the nascent Delhi Sultanate from death and destruction. While taking all the decisions, Iltutmish consulted the Turkish nobles, sometimes called the Group of 40 or Chahalgani. He also granted lands or iktas to the members of his army. Ikta holders were given the right to collect land revenue. Razia Sultan, 1236 to 1240 AD. Iltutmish was a broad-minded ruler. It is proved by the fact that though he had many sons, but he considered none of them worthy of the throne. He decided to nominate his daughter Razia to the throne. Thus, the nomination of a daughter to the throne in preference to sons was a very bold and a noble step. But the nobles did not support the accession of Razia as their sultan. After the death of Iltutmish, his son Ruknuddin Firoz Shah was made the sultan by the nobles as they did not like to be led by a woman. Ruknuddin was not fit to govern the sultanate. So, Razia became the ruler with the popular support of city population and according to the wish of Iltutmish. After becoming the ruler, Razia refused to be a puppet. She discarded her female dress and started holding court with face unveiled. She even hunted and led the army in war. However, she faced a lot of opposition from the Turkish nobles who did not approve of her independent ways. One important chronicler of that period, Minhaj-e-Siraj, reflected this discomfort at having a woman as a ruler in his accounts. Razia was finally murdered in 1240 AD, thus ended the short but significant reign of Razia. Nasiruddin Mahmud, 1246 to 1265 AD. After Razia, many incapable rulers ascended the throne of Delhi Sultanate. Muizuddin Bahram, the son of Iltutmish, Alauddin Masood, the son of Ruknuddin,
Nasiruddin Mahmud, another son of Iltutmish, were under the influence of one powerful Turkish chief, Ulugh Khan, known in history as Balban.
The young and inexperienced Sultan became a puppet in the hands of Balban. Ghiyasuddin Balban, 1266 to 1287 AD.
The struggle for power between the monarchy and the Turkish nobles continued till Balban captured power after the death of Nasiruddin Mahmud and finally ascended the throne in 1266 AD. Balban introduced strict discipline and strengthened the power of monarchy.
He believed in the divine right of kingship, and this increased the prestige and power of the monarchy. He successfully checked and suppressed the internal and external dangers confronting him. In order to raise the power of the king, Balban was determined to break the power of the Turkish nobles. So, he was very strict and did not even spare the nobles while delivering justice. To keep himself well informed, Balban appointed spies in every department. He also organized a strong, centralized army to deal with the internal disturbances and to repel the Mongols who posed a serious threat to the Delhi Sultanate. Balban was very particular about maintaining law and order, and he gave harsh punishment to robbers and dacoits. These harsh methods of Balban were called the policy of blood and iron, and they helped him to control the situation. Moreover, in order to impress the people, Balban maintained a grand court. Whenever he went out, he was surrounded by a large contingent of bodyguards. Balban introduced the customs of Sijda and Paivos, or Zamingos. It was done to emphasize that the nobles were not his equals. He insisted that when the nobles came to the court, they had to lie down on the floor and kiss the monarch's feet. Balban was one of the main architects of the Delhi Sultanate. By asserting the power and prestige of the monarchy, he strengthened the Delhi Sultanate. The Khalji dynasty, 1290 to 1320 AD. After the death of Balban, there was confusion in Delhi for some time. His grandson, Kaikubad, who succeeded him, was a weak ruler. Taking advantage of this, a new group called the Khaljis came to power. Jalaluddin Khalji, 1290 to 1296, was the founder of the Khalji dynasty. He ruled for a brief period of only 6 years. He was murdered by his nephew,
Alauddin Khalji,
who later became his heir.
Alauddin Khalji,
1296 to 1316 AD.
The next ruler, Alauddin Khalji, was a very efficient and capable ruler both administratively and militarily.
During his reign, the Delhi Sultanate expanded.
Alauddin established a vast empire.
His conquest of Gujarat gave him access to exports and overseas trade.
Alauddin also brought Rajasthan under his control. In the south, he sent his commander Malik Kafur to bring the rich kingdoms of the Deccan under control.
Malik Kafur led two campaigns in South India. The first against Warangal in the Telangana area and the other against Dwar Samudra and Mabar, modern Karnataka, and Madurai, Tamil Nadu. For the first time, Muslim armies penetrated as far as Madurai in the south and brought untold wealth.
To deal with the Mongols and to protect his vast empire, Alauddin raised a large, efficient army.
He built new forts and repaired the old ones along the northwestern frontiers.
Alauddin Khalji built the Siri fort in Delhi to protect the people from Mongol invasions.
Siri became the capital of Khaljis. Siri is the third city of Delhi. A large water reservoir called Horse Khas was also a part of this city complex.
Alauddin's market control policy. Alauddin's measures to control the markets were regarded as the great wonders of the world.
He fixed the cost of all commodities from food grains, sugar, cooking oil to a needle, and from costly imported clothes to horses and cattle. Very harsh punishments were given if any shopkeeper charged a higher price or tried to cheat by using false weights and measures. These measures benefited the people.
Alauddin set up 3 markets in Delhi.
One for food grains, the second for costly cloth, and third for horses, slaves, and cattle. Each market was under the control of an officer called Shahana who strictly controlled the prices. Military administration.
Alauddin was the first Delhi Sultan to maintain a well-equipped standing army.
He paid his soldiers in cash and gave them imported horses of good breed. The horses were branded, called Dag, so that they could not be exchanged for cheaper horses. A detailed description of each soldier was kept to prevent substitution. This was called chehra. To keep a check, he had a regular supervision and parading of horses and soldiers.
Alauddin constructed a new garrison town named Siri for his soldiers.
Land Revenue Administration.
Apart from the control of the market, Alauddin took important steps in the field of land revenue administration.
He decided that land revenue would be assessed on the basis of measuring the land under cultivation. This meant that the rich and powerful in the villages who had more land could not pass on their burden to the poor. The Sultan also kept a strict watch on the local officers responsible for revenue collection. Their accounts were strictly checked so that they could not cheat the state. The administrative policies of
Alauddin Khalji
show that apart from being a brilliant military general, he was an administrator of great efficiency. Timur's invasion, 1398 AD. The weakness of the Delhi Sultanate was completely exposed by Timur's invasion of Delhi in 1398 AD. Timur was a Turk, but he could claim a blood relationship with Changiz. His motive for raiding India was to seize the wealth of Delhi Sultans. There was no one to stop this invasion. Timur's army ransacked and plundered the various towns on way to Delhi. Timur then entered Delhi and looted it, mercilessly killing people. Timur appointed Khizr Khan as his deputy before returning to Samarkand. He made Khizr Khan the governor of Multan, Lahore and Dipalpur. Later, Khizr Khan captured Delhi in 1414 AD and began the rule of the Saids. The Said dynasty 1414 to 1451 AD. The Said sultans ruled for a brief period. There were 4 Said kings. Khizr Khan 1414 to 1421 AD laid the foundations of the Said dynasty. He was a tolerant ruler. After capturing Delhi, he ruled for 7 years and died in 1421 AD. Mubarak Shah, 1421 to 1434 AD, the son of Khizr Khan, ascended the throne but had to face the rebellions of nobles. Muhammad Shah Said, 1434 to 1443 AD, and Alauddin Shah Said, 1443 to 1451 AD, succeeded him, but both failed to consolidate their position. Ultimately, Delhi came under the control of Bahlol Lodi, an Afghan noble. The Lodi dynasty, 1451 to 1526 AD. Said dynasty was soon replaced by the Lodis, who were originally Afghan tribesmen. In 1451 AD, Bahlol Lodi became the ruler of Delhi. He extended Lodi rule from Punjab to the western borders of Bihar. Bahlol Lodi was succeeded by his son Sikandar Lodi. Sikandar Lodi, 1489 to 1517 AD. The most important Lodi Sultan was Sikandar Lodi. He brought the nobles under his control and established an efficient administrative system. He laid great emphasis on justice, and all the highways of the empire were made safe from robbers and bandits. The prices of all essential commodities were made cheap. He took keen interest in agriculture. He founded the city of Agra and made it his capital. The Lodis built tombs in gardens. The Mughals later adopted this style. Ibrahim Lodi, 1517 to 1526 AD. Sikandar Lodi was succeeded by his son Ibrahim Lodi. Afghan chiefs and the Rajput rulers wanted to assert their independence. One of the most powerful Afghan chiefs, Daulat Khan Lodi, who was the governor of Punjab, invited Babur, a Central Asian chief, to invade India and displace Ibrahim Lodi. Babur invaded India and defeated Ibrahim Lodi in 1526 AD in the battlefield of Panipat. Thus, the Lodi dynasty and the Delhi Sultanate came to an end. The Sultanate administration. The Delhi Sultanate was headed by the Sultan, who was the most important person in the empire. The Sultan was the commander-in-chief and the chief justice. He was responsible for the protection from outside attacks and maintaining law and order. He was helped by ministers. The income, expenditure, revenue collection were handled by the Wazir. The requirements and complaints of the army were taken care by Arize Mumalik. Chief Sadr was the head of matters related to religion, and Chief Qazi was the head of Justice Department. Some people were given both military and civilian posts in the administration. They were called nobles. They were Khans, Maliks, and Amirs, having 10,000, 1,000 and 100 horses respectively. Division of empire.
The Delhi Sultanate was divided into subas or provinces. Each province was divided into shiks, which were further divided into paraganas and paraganas into villages. The head asuba was called mukti, while that of a sheikh was called a shikdar. The paraganas was headed by amil. The village headman was called mukaddam, accountant as patwari, and landowners as khuds.
Economic tools. Jalaluddin Khilji fixed the prices of basic utility items in order to keep his soldiers and people happy. He appointed Shahanaz to keep an eye over the malfunctioning in the trade. No one could charge higher price. If anyone was found doing so, he was punished severely. The Ikta system. Jalaluddin Khilji and other Delhi sultans appointed military commanders as governors of territories. These military commanders were called Iqtadars, and the lands that they controlled were called Iqtas. The Iqtadars collected revenue from their estates or Iqtas, and this became their salary. They also had to maintain law and order in their Iqtas. The Iqtadars were regularly transferred from one Iqta to another, and the Sultan kept a strict check on them. The Iqtadars also had to maintain a small contingent of troops and assist the king in military campaigns. Thus, Jalaluddin Khilji imposed heavy responsibility on his military commanders and kept them strictly under control.